Good morning, welcome to Morning Outlook. This is Kim speaking on Wednesday the 12th of July. Okay, let's have a look through the markets. First things first, let's just go to the possible risk impact data. If I can bring this into play, there we go, and get the calendar up. So Wednesday the 12th, we've already seen the New Zealand official cash rate or interest rate reported. Came in as expected at 5.5. No surprises this time. Previously we'd seen surprises. It seems to be now capping off, at least for now. They're still mentioning the interest or inflation, beg your pardon, is too high, but they've come towards the end of their hiking levels, I believe, for now anyway. Okay. Aside of that, we've had some Australian data, or I say data, but speaker coming through. Also mentioned about high inflation rates. It seems to be a commonality across the world at the moment. So looking ahead today, actually, it's mainly focused around the inflation data here. We do have a number of speakers coming through. I'm just looking. Bank of England governor speaking at 9 o'clock this morning. We got the inflation. It's got it on here. I'm speaking. So is this testifying? Okay. Discussing the financial stability report, which was released and has already had comments, but obviously discussion there at 9 o'clock, which could see some volatility. It's most likely to see some sort of volatility around the pound. As I say, the inflation very key there. Then we got the Bank of Canada's rate being increased again for the forecasts, coming at 5%. So still might have some to go there. Again, you will see their comments on inflation. Actual press conference for that meeting is 4 o'clock, so it's an hour difference. So you could see some movement, certainly on the Canadian dollar later. Right, that's pretty much it for today. And as I said, I was talking about speakers. 1:30 we've got Fed speaker barking. We've got then 2 o'clock ECB speakers. 2:30 we've got the Trade Bank of Canada, the interest. Truth. Let's see. Reading the wrong thing there. Fed CADJPY at 14:45 and ECB Lane at 14:45. So there's plenty of speakers coming through and more after 4 o'clock. So too many to mention. So what's that mean for the day? Well, we could see periods of consolidation with periods of quite high volatility at times. That's the way it sort of tends to work out in these markets. So looking at the euro dollar, let's look at them technically, what we can see here. We can't second guess what's going to happen, but we can see what they're doing at the moment. So the euro dollar, it broke that trend line as I mentioned last week. Since then it's been pushing up again this morning. Obvious area of resistance will be sitting into these prior highs. They were quite spiky levels, but there was a sort of common figure around that 110.93-ish area, which stopped it, and they spiked back and closed below the 105 or 106 1.106. That ties in quite nicely with the monthly pivot there. Intraday, well, it's again a bit of a game of two halves. It was selling off into yesterday afternoon eventually, and it took quite some time before it really got any momentum behind the move. About 5 o'clock in the afternoon there, and it's since then pushed off again. But we've been talking about this for a while now. Quite a lot of the bigger movements are occurring in the afternoon. Consolidation we're seeing a lot of in the morning. This should have been a reasonable buy if it was early enough, but it's just too late for me. Okay, as the euro, the pound, we're going to zip through these now. The pound, well, it's broken through prior highs there, certainly looking more bullish, and again this morning pushing up there. The current moves on the weekly basis is just almost non-stop here, so it's consolidating where it is again. Got a reasonable chance of running back into the R2. Just came short of yesterday's R2. I was talking about it yesterday, came fractionally short, but we've since seen that level break. I won't be surprised if we see similar-ish, although watch out, of course, we've got the Bank of England governor speaking, so we've got to be a bit careful to try and trade that too quickly. It's got to be post 9 o'clock. The dollar yen, where the focus was, as I said last week, or the week before last, on the 145. Well, it's certainly having the reaction to that. It's broken the near-term trend line. It's coming down to this sort of longer-term trend line, not far off it as I'm speaking here. Lower highs, lower lows. It's a beauty on the downside, but yeah, I was looking at it yesterday thinking, well, it might get an opportunity. I mean, yes, it came down, it hit its S2, little rally, but again, it's so late to get into some of these from a day trading perspective. And this is where in these current markets, the swing trades may be largely better, because we are seeing some half decent trends. Aussie dollar, well, it broke out of its smaller term range. It sits in its bigger range. News coming out from the Reserve Bank of Australia there saw it much more positive through the Asian session. At least it's coming off again at the moment, having run pretty close to its R3. But yeah, it looked like it was going to be a decent one to the downside there yesterday, and just didn't continue. At the moment, there's so many ifs and buts on this, I'll leave it. US dollar CAD, well, I'm just looking at this at the beginning of the week to get in on the short side, more on a swing. Looks like, again, it ran off quite so late. When it actually started moving, breaking through the prior lows there, it was quite late in the day, and again sold off there largely through the Asian session so far. Now, got to be careful because we've got the Bank of Canada's meeting later today, so again, it's one along with the pound and the dollar and each other currency. There's quite a lot of risk in these markets today. Dollar, New Zealand dollar, US dollar. It's trying its best. It's not really going too far at all. I'm just waiting. It's just a dollar so weak relatively. Otherwise, I think we'd see this come off quite strongly. It's not seen the same sort of impact that we've seen with other pairs, and particularly the Aussie dollar. The Aussie's pushed up further relatively. But again, just rolling back, not the cleanest of markets at the moment. The old favourite, Euro Yen, did break down eventually yesterday morning there. It did start going, broke from the S1 through. The risk reward, when I actually looked at it, wasn't particularly good, and well, it's a lot of the action and retracement there, a lot of the action again through the Asian session here. Again, it'd probably be better off as a swing trade than a day trade on some of these markets, just giving us a little bit more space in terms of stops, etc. Other pairs, Euro Pound, just continuing this downside, the pound remaining stronger of the two. Euro Aussie, again, not really much to be had here at this stage. The Euro CAD, very choppy on the short term frame here. Got a bit of battle going on here. I looked at it yesterday. The potential for it to push on further was okay, but it just sold off into early morning or mid-morning, midday there, and just hanging up here. Perhaps later on we'll see some decent movement out of all this consolidation, but it's best left at the moment. I haven't got a lot else here. I've flicked through already this morning a few times. There's not a great deal. one of the pairs I often come back to and have a look at, particularly if one's moving a bit quicker than the other, is the Aussie New Zealand. But even that, it's just in such a mess. I was looking on the sell side of this, looking on the sell side of this. It doesn't look like it's going to happen at the moment. Right, so the Forex market's not the easiest to work your way through at the moment. Let's have a look at gold. Gold should be increasing. So yeah, gold's continuing its little path here to the upside. Hardly setting the world alight, but it is pushing through. If you're looking at movement, you're better off on the euro and the pound, and trying to trade the gold at the moment. It's quite sluggish relatively. Yes, at some stage it might get a shift, but it's not pushing too hard at the moment. Whereas oil's getting some decent moves. There's more and more speculation that there'll be more cuts taken into account. A general worldwide production demand, beg your pardon, is reducing. So there'll be more chat of a reduction in production. There we go. So we might well see this continue pushing up. At the moment it's a bit of a dodgy area around the previous highs here. It's having a bit of a reaction right now, but it is in a half decent trend. Equity markets, CSI 300 continuing. It's in this wedge pattern now. There's so much more or so less reliable than a flag or anything else like this, sort of just zigzagging its way. With the existing movement here, I would have suggested that it does look like it's got further downside. The Nikkei, again, the double top, the stronger yen is not helping it at all, and we're seeing this really coming off for now. And yeah, just got further downside potential on that now. It certainly is broken the low between the two highs. Nifty 50 seems to be outperforming at the moment. It's off this morning so far, but has had a decent run, and it's consolidating around its highs at the moment, so still looking half decent. The Aussie 200 had a reasonable day yesterday, and then today stalled today's market was very stalled there. Not really going too far, but I'm still favouring the bearish side of that market. S&P's pushed up again yesterday, put us a pivot swing in there. I think the inflation report again, something lower there's an expectation. The market rallied towards the end of the shift last night on expectations that the inflation would drop slightly, but we've got a lot of speakers. We've seen a lot of hawkish comments coming out regarding further increases beyond what was originally expected. Dow Jones, the overall market here has flattened out quite a lot. I'm just looking for potential, but it just really doesn't look great to me. FTSE consolidating around these lows here. There's concerns there'll be money outflows, etc., which won't help the pound, and if you've got outflows going into the equity market, we could see this rolling over some more. Certainly with the continued expectations of higher interest rates are really negative for the FTSE at the moment. Gold I've looked at. Right, quick look through the major cryptos. Bitcoin, just same old. There's obviously some intraday stuff going on, but it's very rangy. Ethereum no different. Chainlink up a bit this morning, but overall these markets are relatively range bound at the moment, hardly setting the world alight. I would have thought with this weaker dollar we might have seen some strong strength coming through on these cryptocurrencies, but not to be at the moment. Litecoin not going anywhere, just consolidated. I I sort of almost want to tap the screen to see if it's still trading some of these. Solana being an odd exception in terms of it's been pushing up and in a half decent trend from what was quite a harsh old bottom at one stage. Ripple, again, just consolidation. Now you look at swings for some markets and you think the Forex market's probably better for swing. This is not going anywhere, so it's these markets, they're tough. If you're trying to swing trade them, you're probably going to be chopped up quite a bit or sitting there for a long time with no real movement and some cost. Anyway, on that sweet note, I wish you a great day's trading and I'll catch you in the morning. Bye for now.